Okay, what's up, guys? Colin, welcome to the Face Football Weather, guys. I can't hear you, Colin, right now. Let me just bring it up. We're first stream back in a while, so Colin, can you talk here? Sean, can you talk?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, we have Sean, but Colin is muted. Of course, that's how it works in the first stream, Colin. So I'll take off here. We'll get going. Colin will get his comms going here. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining, guys. We're going to talk about some games here around the NFL and our weather impacts. It's probably my stream here, and we'll move off to the weather table. So this is our first stream in, oh man, it's probably been a few years now. So we had a lot of technical issues trying to set this up. Um, it's funny, we used to do this through Zoom, and then all of a sudden, if I say Zoom, it's like an antique. So literally no one, I had no idea that Zoom was retired in 2022. So obviously we haven't streamed since 2022, but we're now doing this through officially through Streamlabs. And we wanted to make sure that we kind of covered some of the games today. We'll work out these technical difficulties here. It's funny, we were all working just a second ago, and then when we muted, for some reason, it just died on us. So anyway, let's screen share here. Let's take a look at what's going on here. This is Cleveland, Ohio webcam, and we can see here that we have some fair weather right now, but it's pretty windy. We'll talk about this as one of our impact games here, as we kind of focus on our discussion on around the weather. The three games of interest that we are focusing on is the Miami at Cleveland, 1 p.m. kickoff, the New Orleans Saints at Chicago Bears, and the Patriots at the Tennessee Titans. Um, so that is the three kind of games of interest here. Uh, let's kick us off and take a look at the Miami game. So on our weather impact table, we have our outline. This is something that's been running for a number of years now. This is fed through the National Weather Service, temperature, wind, and precip. Um, and we are looking at now essentially 64 Fahrenheit temperatures, 20 mile per hour winds sustained, and precipitation at we have about like a tenth of inch of rain in the forecast here. Saints at Chicago, we're looking at temperatures in the mid 50s, winds in the low to mid 20s, and precipitation around 300ths of an inch, so less rain there in Chicago. And the Tennessee Titans, winds at 20 miles per hour with a hundredth of a inch of rain. So, Sean, how you doing, man? It's unfortunate that we lost Colin out of the stream here. I know that he's
Yeah,
been.
he's trying. He's trying, but unfortunately, I think our new kind of Streamlabs way of doing things here is preventing him from joining. But I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Everything is good over here. Happy to we have some weather games to talk about. I mean, this has been talked about a lot in the media, right? So people have been talking about this more and more throughout the week, and I think our purpose here is to provide maybe some clarity on what to expect from a weather perspective for these games because I mean, Mike, I think you'd agree, right, that the weather for these games is maybe for at least some of these is not going to be as impactful for the whole duration of the game. And so for those of you in the fantasy betting world, that may have some implications.
Yeah. I mean, we saw some significant line movements already in this Miami at Cleveland game. Um, it was originally at like a 40 and at 40.5
Yeah.
over under, and it dropped to like 34 and a half now in just
Yeah.
3 or 4 days because a lot of folks are
Yes.
focusing on the weather.
Oh, he's back.
We have Colin. Is he talking?
Yes.
Let me see if I can bring him in. Hold on here. I'm gonna go to my collab cam, show on stream. All right, Colin, speak to me.
I'm talking to
There
you.
he is. He's in. So
Oh my God. I know you did all the intro. I know I'm just jumping in.
I
I'm gonna blame Mike, but it really may have not been Mike's
What did I
fault.
say about practice, by the way?
yeah, practice
Well,
doesn't make perfect. So
you know, all
it's
right.
trial by fire. Hey, Colin, welcome here. I'm
I
glad that
know
we got you in.
it's been a long time. And yeah, so you did the intro, you did my job, so now I can really leave again and not have anything to do. So
Well,
that's
you
okay.
hold on before we do that. You said you wanted to do a little quick catch
Well,
up.
no, you kind of hit on it. I was watching, I was listening. It's been a while. We've been around in the background doing some stuff, upgrading some stuff, and living life too. So it's been what 3 years since we've seen each other on camera. You know, So welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to our one fan. Thanks, Red Bar Gaming. Glad to see you're watching. I didn't send it to our moms. I always joke when we were talking about this, when we used to do this, that our moms were our biggest fans and always watched. As Sean would say, that's how he got to see his mom got to see him.
Oh, jeez. Brutal.
Not untrue.
So yeah, anyways, I know you were talking about the first game, the Cleveland Miami game. So I'll let you get back to it, and interrupting is over.
All right. Well, Sean, why don't we do a quick talk about what's going on from a synoptic setup here. I'm going to bring up our win map, where we have a number of NFL stadiums around the U.S. here, and again, we're focusing on this Chicago game, this Cleveland, Ohio game, and to a lesser degree, what's going down in Nashville, Tennessee. So, Sean, what's happening here from a synoptic setup here?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fairly robust frontal system, like a 996 low, and it's kind of wrapping up across the Midwest here. So it's going into kind of the mature stages of the storm. With that being said, there's still going to be areas that are going to get some heavy precipitation, and also areas that are going to get some high wind, and it's also some gusty wind as well. So I mean, this is going to be an impactful system. The impacts are going to be fairly widespread across the Midwest. Like Mike said, we do expect impacts from Chicago to Cleveland for the games that are going on today, and potentially extending as far south as Nashville for the Tennessee New England game. I think the games we're probably going to be focusing on a little bit more here are the Cleveland Chicago games. So we are expecting winds. We are expecting rains more for the Cleveland game. The other games are going to be more wind. The precip is pretty much past Chicago, and then the front is pretty much past Tennessee as well. And hence, you can see Chicago, the temperatures dropped quite a bit. That's kind of the post-frontal passage there. So that's going to be more just wind impacts. Cleveland, we're still going to have some rain moving through the area. It's not going to be consistent. We don't anticipate, but we do expect isolated periods, potentially of heavy rains throughout the Cleveland game, but probably not sustained throughout the duration. And, with that, winds as well, we're expecting kind of winds still in the sustained 15 to 20 miles an hour. Gusts may ebb and flow here, though. We may see those tail off towards the end of the game as that system continues to progress to the east.
Yeah. So thanks, Sean, for that. It's interesting here that when we kind of do look at the windy map here, we come out of Cleveland and we take a look at what's going on. We were able to kind of confirm there is about 20 mile per hour sustained winds out of the south right now in the Cleveland game. And I was messaging these guys probably throughout the week about this game. And we noticed some substantial kind of movement in some of the sporting lines on this game. I think a lot of folks are, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of people are noticing that there's a risk for weather in this. Do you guys think that there's been some kind of change in those, the perception? Colin, I remember we looked at this from a roster stance, and we didn't see any substantial changes in the roster. It felt like this movement in the line, dropping this by almost 6 points now, was probably driven by this weather event, right?
Yeah. Yep. Sorry. See, I keep muting my mic. It's my fault. It's user error. I'm
okay.
Trying to not, So yeah, Mike and I were talking earlier this week about this. The line was at 40.5 Thursday morning, and then it's now 34.5.
34.5. Yeah.
That's crazy. So there definitely has been a shift in mentality about this game, but it also now, after talking with you guys, it may be shifting the other way.
Right.
Hammering the under at 40.5 may be a good idea. Now it's at 34.5. And why don't you guys kind of talk about what you're seeing as the game moves on, and the risk that you're seeing is on the other side of the coin now, that the winds may not be sustaining.
Yeah. So Sean, you've mentioned this a number of times. There's something frontal going on, right? There's a progressive moving air mass that's coming through Cleveland. So the winds are definitely, the location of the storm is in a position where we are getting those high winds, but there are some of these high-res models as you kind of go through the day, right? This is the NAM, so this is the 5-kilometer North American model. It's a little bit of a higher-res model, but we can see this across other models as well. This just kind of shows it dramatically. That this is 2 p.m. In Cleveland, I've pinned directly where the stadium is. You notice as you kind of zoom in here, the stadium is from kind of a southwest to northeast orientation. We go from like this 11 a.m. now, this morning, it's a southerly wind, strong southeasterly wind. That's a really nice crosswind 20 plus mile per hour event. This is like a red flag type of event. But then as the day goes on, there's a chance that these winds switch more westerly and potentially weaken a little bit, right? So, when I saw this potentially in the making yesterday, I actually I actually took an over on like a 30.5 over there because I'm like, man, is there a chance that these winds are just a little bit overhyped right now? Is there a chance that this actually ends up where the winds look so strong in the morning, but then as the game kicks off and we're watching live TV, are we going to see those flags whipping? Sean, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to have. I think this is going to be kind of a gusty one event. We potentially have the winds to kind of flip here a bit, and I think you're going to see periods where we're going to see the winds gusting, and then we're going to see periods where they're a bit calmer. The question is, are the coaches going to be taking these weather conditions into account from a game script perspective? And
Mm,
the media has given this game a lot of attention. There's been a lot of talk. I think it's on people's minds here. So ultimately, from an impact standpoint, I think it's going to be a little bit kind of hot and cold in terms of impacts. But I do think that the game, I think, especially on the Cleveland side, they're starting to think about this with Dylan Gabriel being a rookie QB here, game scripting, keeping
mm,
kind of the game safe for him here because if we do have periods where winds are whipping 20, 30 miles an hour, which can happen during this game still, they'll probably game script accordingly. But I don't expect, to your point, in terms of kind of the durability of these winds being at 20, 30 miles an hour, I don't think we're going to be expecting those throughout the entire duration of the game. But I do think there may be some coaching, how they're
mm.
coaching, some of the game calling here, play calling may be adjusted based on these weather conditions. Because remember, this is not just a wind game. This also has the potential of being a wind and rain game
Some
too,
rain,
so
yeah.
precip in here as well. So once you combine both of those, even if you have winds 20, 30, or 15, 20 miles an hour, but you do get a pocket of rain where the winds are the rain is coming down, then we do see that impacting player production.
That's a really good point. I even thought I appreciate the thought of the preparation of the game plan that actually is involved here. So there is definitely that risk that these coaches are listening to the weather forecast as well, and they say, hey, you know what? This is where we're going to kind of strategize our efforts today. It'd be interesting to see if that is kind of, if we see that reflected, even if the winds aren't that bad, because obviously if you run the ball more, you're going to take more time off the clock, right? So you're losing
Yeah.
time opportunity to score points. I'd be interesting to
Let's
see if
talk
they,
about the one thing in this game that we're not talking about.
yeah,
They're going to be most likely kicking lots of field goals with these two teams. I think. I don't think there's going to be.
yeah,
I don't know if the offenses are going to be scoring that many points, especially with,
Well,
I think the over-under is also contributing to the gameplay of the players that they have right now on their rosters. And the teams aren't looking that great in my mind either way. So there could be a potential for a lot of field goals. And maybe you don't kick the field goals now with the win in the beginning of the game.
that was going to be
And
the point. Yeah,
yeah.
I
So
think
I
you're right.
think, yeah. So I think gameplay, game script is really interesting. My big question for Sean is: does Sanders ever get a look? Give, I'm just kidding. There's a
I think,
friendly.
I mean, I don't think it's happening this game, but I think it is. I think I think Shrew Sanders is going to get on the field here sooner
Not
than we.
to digress,
But
but the field goal too, right? I mean, especially with crosswind, that's going to be pretty
yeah, I
impactful.
don't think we're going to be attempting 60-yard field goals if there's any sort of win. I don't think the coaches are going to have confidence in their kickers if we're seeing those types of wins. So we may see when you're on the opponent's side of the field, we may be seeing more play calling with going on fourth and short, fourth and four, as opposed to punting or kicking the field goal. But that also may limit some of the scoring potential. We may see a lot more turnover on downs here. And remember, Cleveland's a really good defense, and the Miami offense has been really kind of suspect here, kind of throughout the early part of the season. They have not done very well. So, between the limited offensive weapons that I feel Cleveland has here, I mean, we have Judkins, who I think is going to get definitely a lion's share of the work here, especially if there's wind and precip. I think the coaches are going to be leaning on him. He's proven he could be a workhorse back here. So I think if you're looking at lines for him, or if you're contemplating him from a fantasy perspective, I think his floor is a lot higher in this game. Some of the passing options I'm a little bit more skeptical on. Like if you're talking about like a Jerry Judy, or Fannin, I think he gets some short intermediate routes. We see tight ends be a little bit more productive
mhm.
in these types of games. But they may get some targets. They may give you a floor, but their ceiling is going to be a bit more capped here. And then on the Miami side, generally actually speaking, about precip and wind, Tua has actually done okay, with precip and win games. But now when we have those combined, I expect his averages to come down. Usually he averages around 240 yards per game. I'd be very surprised if he gets to that number today with 32 attempts on average per game. But it is interesting. I took a look at Waddle's numbers, and he actually does relatively well in precip games, not as so much in win games. So if this turns into more of a precip game than a win game, maybe Waddle does start to benefit. He's had 4 TDs in 6 games in precip games that he's been in. So, I think there are some players that can benefit, but again, you're going against a tough Cleveland defense here. So I think we're capping some of the kind of the upside of these players just in general, just based on the defense they're going up against.
All right. Well, I think on the other in the Miami teams, I'm still starting Achane, and Waddle. Actually, I kept him in my flex here because obviously he's the one now. So I think we can move on to the second
quick,
game of interest.
I can't move on.
All right, what's up?
Miami, no, just going back to the field goal, because I think what we missed a lot last time and what we've learned over the couple of years of doing this is that the win is the most impactful thing in sport, in NFL, right? It's really what changes the game dynamic, especially with kickers. Miami has the most field goals that an opponent attempts, 2.8 this season. So if they're getting teams to kick field goals, it's going to be impactful this week. I just want to harp that point. I'm sorry I can't get off it, but now I can.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Yeah.
It's something to keep an eye on. I'm just a little bit concerned. Yeah, I mean, to your point with the wins, how many field goal attempts are we going to be seeing here, especially if the wins, especially the first half, they look like they could be sustained a little bit higher here, and then they maybe die off in the second half of the game, and maybe precip becomes more of a factor. It's going to be something we're going to need to watch.
All right. So now we have 2 more games at the 1 o'clock that you guys were looking at on our table. And let's see which ones were. They were the Bears. I forgot who the Bears were playing.
Saints.
Sorry. Saints, yeah. Bears, Saints, and our other one.
Patriots and Tennessee. I want to say something about this Saints and Bear game. I've been watching very closely on some of these lines, and they have not moved at all. And what's interesting to me is the winds are currently forecast to be stronger and more sustained for the duration of the game than the Miami at Cleveland game. So I thought that was an interesting point because I've been waiting for some sort of, if people are looking at this, and it just feels like this game is somewhat going under the radar to me. And so when we look at the windy map and we kind of bring us over to Chicago, and we look at the stadium orientation, right? We can kind of find Soldier Field here. I think it's down south. You have like a south to north oriented field. And you look back at the winds, and right now the winds look like, it's kind of parallel, but as the game goes on, like there is a chance that some of these winds start to come out from the west here. So it becomes more of a crosswind event. To me, I actually decided to come in here and take a bet, make a bet on my personal account. I'm interested to see if this game underachieves expectations given the nature of what's going on from the weather side, just because it looks similar to me. It's not as much rain in Cleveland, but it's still similar winds, just a different direction. From maybe not as much gusts, but I don't know how you guys felt about this one in terms of the wind impact here for Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I think you may have some lingering precip for the first quarter or so, but precip shouldn't really be a factor for this game. You have the front moving through, the system moving through. This is really going to be, to your point, really just it's going to be really dictated by winds if we're going to see impacts here. And I think the gust potential is a little bit more limited in this game, but we may see more in terms of sustained winds. I mean, to Mike's point, it seems like we could get a little bit more ebb and flow in the Cleveland game. Maybe we do get a quarter or so where it's only 10-mile-an-hour winds, and then the other quarter it's 20 plus. With the Chicago game, I think we're a little bit more confident we could get some sustained higher 15 to 20-mile-an-hour winds, which if we're seeing those for the duration of the game, I think we can see some impacts. And I think, some of the positions that may be impacted is like, for instance, a Rashid Shaheed here, the long, deep threat for Rattler. Are we really going to see these really deep threats, downfield in this game if we do get more consistent wins, and especially if it's more of a
I think we're losing these guys from the stream. This could be internet.
I think we lost Sean.
Yeah. Well, Sean looks like he lost his internet connection, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so what he was saying, Mike, maybe you could pick it up, is that, with the deep threat with the And I don't know if he was going to say it was a crosswind, but didn't you say it was running parallel? The wind
It
was
starts
running
parallel, and then the winds turn more westerly. It ends up being more crosswind towards the end of the game. So, which could impact those like kickers and all those things. The
the
deep
kickers,
ball,
the
Rashid
deep threat.
Shaheed, yeah.
I mean, even if it's
Um,
parallel with the field, though, if you're throwing against the wind or with the wind, you could have, you never know what the wind can do. And
Yep.
and also inside certain stadiums. I mean, we've never really thought about it, but some stadiums swirl. Some like Bill Stadium, I know that one very well. The
Yeah.
wind swirls,
Yep.
and once it gets in there, it does its own thing.
All right, let's finish off quickly with the Patriots
Yeah.
and Tennessee Titans. The winds have creeped up on this game throughout the week. It started at like 14 miles per hour early in the week. They're now up to 20 miles per hour. There's more weather. More of that northwesterly wind is going to kind of be hitting down into like the Kentucky and Nashville area. So there is some wind now coming into this game, more than what we've seen in recent forecasts. So to me, it's enough of kind of caution on some of the wide, on the deep threats here. I don't know how many people are actually playing some of the wideouts in New England. Obviously, the running game is what the focus is right now, and their quarterback. Tennessee Titans.
Diggs is out, right? Or
Diggs is
questionable.
Well, I know that Ridley's out for sure. So on the other side of the ball, so we're losing, and the Tennessee's just looked horrible. So yeah, you play your running backs in this one, limit expectations. Over underlines are pretty low already, 42.5. So I mean, you could theoretically end up going under that if these wins end up being as strong as what's showing. But it's three similar games: Cleveland, Chicago, Tennessee, where you have similar wins. I'm throwing the caution flag on the hype train of Cleveland wins today. I'm worried that is going to underachieve expectations. So I think we can kind of close that off here, Colin. I'm going to go to our faces and do a chat here. We lost Sean. We had a number of technical issues today. Not surprising after not streaming for a few years, but it was good to kind of get out here and try again, right?
You're back. Well, Sean is back, but
is he?
I don't think he's back on our stream, but that's okay. Yeah, Mike. No, it's been great to come back, see everyone, get back into this. We've always been around in the background. Our website is updated and does update. The impact table has been live, even though we have not been live. But I also think the important thing is last year. I mean, the last couple of years, the weather hasn't really been impactful.
Yeah.
And that's what we're learning is that for it to be impactful, it's got to be. I'm going to use the wrong terms. I'm not a weatherman, but extreme or pretty substantial. And
yes.
With the wind, it seems to be the most impactful event or situation. So again, Mike did the rundown of the games, 3 games with wind. The Cleveland game definitely. I think even as we have been doing this stream, I think our level of severity has even ticked down even lower on the Cleveland game. Just bet responsibly, have fun with it. Try to thread a needle if you got in early this week with an under. And
that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to thread the needle. I got a 14-point buffer.
Appreciate seeing everyone, and thanks for all the viewerships. Like us, follow us, FFWG or FF Weather Guys, and we will be back with another event maybe this year. We don't know. Weather's unpredictable.
We got Sean back, by the way, so everyone can see his face here to end this. Sean, you want to say something before we end here?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think Colin makes a good point with just the impacts of weather. Sometimes we over forecast a little bit in terms of impacts. If we see 15-mile-an-hour winds, this could be an impactful game, but really, from a wind perspective, we really need to see 25 plus and precip pretty torrential downpours for us to see more substantial data-driven impacts, statistical impacts on these games. So we do have a few opportunities for at least periods, especially with the Chicago and the Cleveland game, but we'll need to monitor closely because there is a chance that weather could be less impactful than some are saying for these games today.
All right, guys.
And on a third wrap up that we all just did, let's all end it now. Have a good night or good day. Good luck. Enjoy football.
Happy football. Later.
Well,